sponsored by Blackmagic Design, the world's highest quality products for the feature film, post and broadcast industries. Blackmagicdesign.com. And by the Tonkawa Film Festival, celebrating short films from around the world. tonkawafilmfestival.com.
Nightbitch. This premiered at Toronto back in September and then kind of toured around the festival circuit, including AFI Fest, and it'll be released in early December nationwide. This was one of the celebrity appearances we had. Amy Adams, the star of the film, did a Q&A afterward, and she is just as much of a goddess as she has always been. The film itself is kind of like a dark comedy, a little bit of body horror. So Amy Adams plays a relatively new mother. Her child is about 2, maybe 3 years old. Her husband, played by Scoot McNairy, is a businessman who is often away on trips. So she's kind of left to raise the kid on her own, balance all these things that new moms have to balance, while trying to hold on to both her sanity and, the last vestiges of her career as an artist. She goes to these, mommy and me, book readings at libraries. She hangs out with some other moms in her group. But what strikes you is that this film, written and directed by Marielle Heller, it's very feminist, but it's also counter-feminist to what the entertainment industry considers feminism. One of the big things is this film does not pass the Bechdel test. I don't particularly put any stock in that test. It's kind of arbitrary and weirdly militant in some places, but Amy Adams' character is simply called Mom. Her husband is simply called Husband. The kid is basically just called Son. So many of these characters, all 3 of the main characters, have no names. The only named characters are the friends in her mom group, and they only talk to each other about their kids and their husbands, so it does not pass the Bechdel test. It's kind of funny in that regard. But the big thing, the big selling point of the film, it's not just the witty dialogue and the sharp adult humor of it. It's the fact that as Amy Adams' character starts kind of losing her grip on things, she starts transforming into a literal dog. It's a bit of magic realism where she finds what looks like a cyst on her lower back and pops it, but it's actually a tail growing. She starts getting a taste for raw meat. Several neighborhood dogs leave dead animals on her porch as almost like they're trying to woo her. It's very odd. And it kind of combines elements from a few other movies. There are tons of films out there about how hard it is to be a mom. Tully, The Babadook. One that just came out last month called Another Happy Day, I think, with Lauren Lapkus. This is a trope that's been done to death. And also the transformation of a woman when her body is going through changes into an animalistic form. That ground was covered at last year's AFI Fest by Malaysia's entry Tiger Stripes, which I didn't particularly like. It had its moments, but it wasn't really that great of a film. So you combine all those and you finally get a version of this that works. It's by no means spectacular. It's not like the be-all, end-all, but to watch Amy Adams carry this, you realize once again how great of an actress she is. She's been nominated for the Oscars 6 times, and this should easily be her 7th nomination. And I just sat there thinking, if she can't win for this, I don't know what else she can do. I'm not saying she would necessarily get my vote because I haven't seen everything else out there yet, but what more can one artist do? She is just a force of nature in this, literally and figuratively. And she takes what is a very tired premise with some magical realism elements to it and sells it for all it's worth, just keeps punching and punching. You honestly wonder how she has the energy to keep it going, especially when the film itself, again, this is intentional on Heller's part, kind of goes to decent lengths to gaslight her, to make her look unattractive, to make her seem unreasonable in certain points, and then to bombard her with even more unreasonable things like her husband coming home from a trip and complaining that there's no milk in the fridge. She's trying to take her first shower in 4 days, And she's like, just go out and buy some if you want some that badly. It was like, I can't do everything. It was like, there's a weird catharsis in that. And even if you're a man, you should be watching this to think, holy crap, if I have family like this, if I have a wife and a kid, or if I ever want to, I better check myself before I riggedy wreck myself. Like there are those moments of, oh my God, you could just kick Scoot McNairy right in the crotch. But again, that's the way he's written. It's Mariel Heller overselling the point, but in a way that works because again, that's the intent. And if you didn't have someone as stellar as Amy Adams anchoring all this, it probably would have just gone completely off the rails. Like, there are a lot of actresses out there who are good in their own elements, but you couldn't see someone like Kristen Stewart doing this. It just wouldn't mesh. With Amy Adams, I've been a fan of her since Junebug, where she plays a young pregnant woman. She knows how to handle this kind of material, and she's absolutely spectacular.
That sounds so weird. That film, just when you describe it, it sounds so strange. I remember we talked about it on the preview, like the fall movie preview episode, and I did not know what to make of it myself, but I just thought that is strange. But if anybody can pull it off, it's Amy Adams.
Yeah, and it's a bit polarizing. I think the film has about a 65% rating on Rotten Tomatoes after its festival run. So that may fluctuate once it gets released, depending on which non-festival critics get a chance to see it. But this is definitely a Best Actress showcase vehicle, and I look at it as, yeah, like in lesser hands, this could be a disaster. In Amy Adams' hands, it's not only entertaining, but it creeps ever so close to the pantheon for the year.
This is the BTRP Media Network.